People dream because reality is too heavy to carry alone. Hope becomes a shelter when the world offers none. And sometimes the most dangerous thing a person can have is something worth living for. Of Mice and Men is not a long book, but it is a heavy one. It looks simple on the surface: two men, a job, a dream. Yet underneath, it asks one of the hardest questions in human life. What happens to people who are kind in a cruel world? A world built on loneliness. The story takes place during the Great Depression. Jobs are temporary. Homes are temporary. Relationships are temporary. Men move from ranch to ranch, working, earning, leaving. No one stays long enough to belong. Loneliness is not an exception here. It's the default. Steinbeck doesn't exaggerate this world. He strips it down. People are valued only for what their bodies can produce. Once strength fades, so does worth. In this world, companionship is rare, and hope is dangerous. George and Lennie, an unusual bond. George and Lennie travel together. That alone makes them different. George is small, sharp, restless. Lennie is big, strong, and mentally disabled, with the mind of a child and the strength of a giant. Lennie doesn't understand the world, but he feels it deeply. George understands the world too well, and that knowledge weighs on him. Their relationship is not balanced. George thinks for Lennie, protects him, controls him, but Lennie gives George something even more rare than safety. He gives him a reason not to be alone, the dream that keeps them alive. They share a dream, a small piece of land, a house, animals, work that belongs to them, and rabbits. Lennie loves the rabbits. They make the dream real to him. George tells this dream again and again, not because Lennie forgets, but because George needs to believe it himself. The dream is not about land. It's about dignity, belonging, control over one's own life. In a world where everything can be taken away, a dream becomes an anchor. Strength without control. Lennie loves soft things, mice, puppies, fabric, but he doesn't know his own strength. What he touches, he destroys. Not out of cruelty, out of fear. Fear makes him grip tighter and tighter. This is Steinbeck's quiet warning. Power without understanding is dangerous, even when the heart is pure. Lennie is not evil, but the world doesn't care about intention, only consequences. A ranch full of broken dreams. Every character carries their own loneliness. Candy, old and afraid of becoming useless. Curly's wife, unnamed, trapped, unheard. Crooks, isolated by race, hardened by rejection. Each one has dreams. Candy wants security. Crooks wants dignity. Curly's wife wants recognition. But the system allows only one kind of survival, and none of these dreams fit. When George shares the farm dream, others lean in, not because they believe it's realistic, but because they need something to believe in. Hope spreads quickly among the hopeless, and that makes its destruction even more painful. Cruelty that pretends to be order. The ranch enforces its own rules. Anyone who doesn't fit becomes a problem. Weakness is mocked. Difference is punished. Kindness is misunderstood. Curly represents power without purpose. Aggression without cause. He is threatened by Lennie's strength and protected by the system. This imbalance is not accidental. It reflects a world where authority survives and innocence does not. When dreams become dangerous, the closer the dream feels, the more fragile it becomes. Lennie, hiding after another mistake, clings to the dream, begging George not to abandon him. He doesn't fear punishment. He fears losing the dream. This is the cruelest truth Steinbeck shows us. For some people, hope is the only thing keeping them human. And when hope is taken away, nothing replaces it. Mercy in a merciless world. The ending is quiet. No speeches. No justice. No redemption. George makes a choice no one should have to make. He understands the world Lennie cannot. He knows what will happen to Lennie if he lives. And so he chooses mercy, not because it is right, but because everything else is worse. This is not a heroic act. It is a tragic one. Steinbeck refuses to comfort the reader. He leaves us with discomfort because that is the honest ending. What the story is really about, Of Mice and Men, is not about failure. It is about fragility. The fragility of dreams. The fragility of kindness. The fragility of people who don't fit into hard systems. It asks, what does society do with the weak? What happens when compassion has no place to live? And how much cruelty can exist before mercy becomes the only option? Some people are not built for this world, not because they are broken, but because the world is. Steinbeck doesn't offer solutions. He offers truth. And sometimes truth is the heaviest thing a story can carry. Of Mice and Men reminds us that dreams matter, even when they fail, because without them, we are already lost. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Like if this message made you reflect on friendship and dreams. Comment, what dream keeps you going even when life is hard? Subscribe for weekly book wisdom. Share with someone who understands struggle and loyalty.